um, for inspiration and thought exchange, brought to you by today's speaker. We invite everyone to address our assembly with words of inspirations, lessons learned, or passionate ideas. Everyone's opinion expressed here is strictly that of the person who gives it. So let us consciously and lovingly agree to disagree if it does not resonate with us. The topic of today, again, is Ho'oponopono. And I'm going to read a bio of our speaker, whose name is Bill Fiest. Fiest, sorry, I knew that. Bill Fiest is a certified Ho'oponopono practitioner and a lifelong self-improvement student. Bill lives in Strongsville, Ohio, and is retired. He wrote and published his first book, Halo Repair, A Nudge Toward Wholeness, in 2006. His books, Ho'oponopono, Nudges and Reminders, and Ho'oponopono 2, Nudges and Reminders, are available on Amazon. You can follow Bill on Instagram at Ho'oponopono Bill. Bill is also a wood sculptor. Many of his sculptures are available on Etsy at Bi-Fi Art. Okay, so I believe it is, you are up, Bill. Come on up.
Chris. Angel House. I knew. Yep. As soon as I saw you, I thought, I know that. You get around. Anyhow, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about Ho'oponopono and tell you about how I got there. Back in around 2006, my wife and I were at a seminar, and the guy just mentioned a Hawaiian problem-solving technique called Ho'oponopono. Well, my wife, Hawaii's like her favorite place. And so as soon as they said Hawaii, I knew we were checking into this. So we went home and we looked it up on the internet, and we found out there was a book called Zero Limits that came out. So we ordered the book, and it had just come out. We read it and said, well, let's go check it out. Well, they had a seminar in Charlotte, and they had a seminar in Chicago, and we had relatives in Chicago. We thought, that's a breeze. But the one in Charlotte was going to be the first class that Dr. Hu Lin taught after the book came out. So we decided to go down there. Originally, it was designed, he went to Charlotte every year and taught in a church basement, 20 or 30 people. So they originally had it scheduled for a church basement. Then they let us know that, well, now we had to get a hotel. And then, well, we had to get a bigger hotel. Well, there were over 300 people at this seminar. It was really quite fantastic. And just a little aside, when I go into an event like that where there's a lot of people, I try to get a chair close to a door in case I have to go to the bathroom. I don't bother a lot of people, you know, so I can get out easy. So there's a couple seats on the other side of these women, so we sat down there. And sat down, you know, there's over 300 people. And the woman next to me goes, "Are you Bill Feist?" I'm Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah. I said, "Yeah, you know, have we ever been married or something?" You know? And she said, "No, I went to a talk you gave on halo repair up in Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland." So I thought, I mean, I kind of like guidance and believe in it, you know, but it sneaks up on you once in a while. So it's quite interesting. Now, Ho'oponopono is a problem-solving technique. They don't teach it as a religion. But what I like about it is they use the word divinity, which really, no matter what faith you are, you can kind of relate to that. You know, instead of picking a word for God or Jehovah or Muhammad or whatever it's divinity. So everybody can kind of identify with that. And so, and it works with all religions. That's the wonderful part of it. The way Ho'oponopono started out was it was a Hawaiian problem-solving technique where in the ancient times, they would get the village together. Okay, the kahuna would be in charge. and say, okay, what problems do you have? What problems do you have with you or whatever? And they would stay there until they resolved all the problems. You know, and work it out because it was family. We were all family. Let's all just bring this together and move in love. Well, Morna Simeona, who started the Ho'opono that we know today with the 4 phrases, she was one of the kahunas that led these practices in the villages. But she found as she got into the 70s, it was harder to bring families together because everybody was all over the place. So that she came up with what they call self-identity through Ho'oponopono, where you can just do this yourself and clean yourself so that we can all get along and be together. And when she first came up with it, her order was, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, which was fine. It doesn't really matter what order you say them in. When she passed away and Dr. Hulan took over the practice, he moved I love you to the beginning for himself because he knows that what we're trying to clean is our subconscious, our inner child, you know, the memories replaying. So he felt starting out and letting the inner child know I love you was a good way to start the process. So that's why you hear it that way, but it doesn't really matter which way you say it. And I think the way Dr. Hugh Len, the practice became famous because he accepted a position at the Hawaiian prison in the ward for the criminally insane, which had 30 people in it at the time. And they tried to get him to do this for a couple of years, and he finally accepted. He said, but under my conditions. So he had an office. In the 4 years he was there, he never spoke to a prisoner, never spoke to anybody. He just sat in his office. He would open a file of a prisoner and read their history and why they're there. And then the feelings that came up in him, the disgust or the anger or whatever it was, that's what he would clean on, because he feels that, and seeing this is what Morna taught, was that you are 100% responsible for everything that comes into your life. If it comes into your life, it's there to trigger a response so that you can clean on that. So he would sit there, go through the files and read them and clean on why is this in my life now? You know, please forgive me. I love you. I'm sorry that this is in my life, you know, and then oftentimes he wouldn't even use all 4 phrases. He would just say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Yeah. But he would go through their files every day. He did this for 4 years. Well, when he took over, out of the 30 prisoners, 28 of them were shackled at all times. So, and all of them were on medication. After about a year to year and a half, nobody was shackled anymore. Nobody, very few people were on medication, but he had to continue working on it. And he found that he had to start working on the staff as well, because they were a problem with dealing with the prisoners too. So, but I don't know if you can imagine this, sitting in your office for 4 years, never seeing anybody, and just going through files, and just keep doing it until you could feel the cleaning happening. But the persistence, the diligence that it took to do this. And that's one of the things you got to remember about Ho'oponopono. It's not just like, okay, I got up this morning, I said, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Let's go. I mean, it might work, but I think you have to be diligent, because all through the day, there's going to be triggers, there's going to be little things that happen. And what you want to do is you're going to clean on those specific things. Like you're driving down the road, somebody cuts you off. Well, my first reaction is a little anger. You know, can I get out ahead of them and slow him or something like that? You know, but I clean on it and I just back off and go about my merry way. Because really, all the people I encounter on the road during the day, and one of them ticked me off, I'm going to let that bother ruin my day? Not hardly. So now Morna taught many aspects to Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. I said it too many times. Anyway, she taught the 4-step mantra. She also taught a 12-step program, which is similar to the 12-step program for AA. She had a multitude of prayers that she published, and she also had hundreds of tools. So like one of the tools is blue solar water. You put water in a blue bottle, set it in the sun or under incandescent light for 15, 20 minutes, and drink that, and it's supposed to be all of Ho'oponopono in a glass of water. But they had many tools. Take just eat one M&M. Give me a break. I can't eat one M&M. If it's in front of me. So I don't practice that one because I don't need it. But when I went into Ho'oponopono, I was looking for, and what I read about was the 4 steps mantra. I was looking for something really easy. I'm basically a lazy person. I don't want to do 12 steps. I don't want to do all the prayers and stuff. I want to get up and say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And I do this in my head most of the time, but I do it all the time, a lot. And it really has worked for me. I can't tell you how fascinating it is to me. About a little over 2 years ago, well, my wife and I were going to teach Ho'oponopono, then COVID hit and we didn't teach it. And then when COVID was over, my wife got sick and she passed away about a little over 2 years ago. So I finally decided to just go on and do this on my own. And I occasionally have classes in my home, but I also would teach it places that will have me. So, but being diligent in Ho'oponopono is, it sounds easy, but when my wife was in the hospital for 2.5 months, because you're taking 100% responsibility and you're cleaning on your feelings. When she was in the hospital, I don't know, I kept going back and forth. Was I cleaning on my feelings, or was I trying to force a cure on her? Which is, it's not my position to do that. That's up to divinity. What we're asking is clean your feelings, and by cleaning, we're asking divinity to take memories that are replaying. Because when something happens, usually a memory jumps in there and says, you're supposed to be mad about that, or you're supposed to be upset about that, or you're supposed to be frustrated about that. Well, by doing the Ho'oponopono, we want to clean that, and we're asking divinity to come in and transmute that energy to pure love. And then imagine the difference in the way you'll respond. It's really quite amazing. When my father died, I had a sister-in-law that said, I got 3 brothers and a sister, so there's 5 of us. We all agreed on how everything was going to go. I had a sister-in-law step in and said, no, that's not the way it's supposed to be. So my initial instinct was, I want to go confront her. I didn't. I did my Ho'oponopono, and we just went on about and did everything the way we thought it should be. And it worked out fine. I was worried that there was going to be a ruckus at the funeral or something like that. Nothing happened. Because I claimed on my weariness too. If that's going on my feelings, I gotta clean on that and try to bring that to pure love. And there's something about when you're responding from pure love, it's pretty hard for somebody to tick you off. It really is, because it's like, oh, I understand. I've been there before. I've been where you were, and someday maybe you'll see the light. Maybe you won't, but right now I do. So I'm going to do it my way. So the thing that's done for me, because I kept doing it after Deb died, and then things just started falling in place. It was fascinating because I'd walk by the closet and see all her clothes and shoes and stuff in there, and it's like, what am I supposed to do with that? Well, the day I thought of that, my cousin and her husband called and said, hey, can we come over and visit? I said, sure. They come over, and I mentioned to my cousin, I said, about the clothes. She says, well, Deb used to take, Deb worked in retail, so she was always switching out her outfits. She would take her old outfits and donate them to the women's prison ministry that my cousin worked at. I didn't know that. It's amazing what you find out. Anyhow, so and I said, well, and they liked it because they didn't always get nice clothes. And these women, they come out of prison, they got to go on interviews and stuff. They're trying to get a job. And so they really appreciated. And she wore an 8.5, which was the most popular size shoe. So that was really great too. So anyhow, so I said, well, that's a lot of clothes. Would they take all those? And she said, oh yeah. So right then we loaded, they had a minivan. We loaded up their minivan that day. That was the morning is when I thought of it. That day they're gone. We loaded everything up and took them down there, and they were ecstatic down there. They were thrilled. So, and just, I could hardly think of anything that couldn't be taken care of. You know, Deb had a Beatle collection from 1964 on up. When she was 11 years old, she really got into the Beatles. So she had stuff from 1964. She had a Beatle fan club card from 1964 from WHK. You know, it's like, it's just fascinating. Anyhow, so I mentioned to my friend, I said, I'm not sure what to do with that. Who do you get the records, all that stuff? And she said, well, my son will sell it for you on eBay if you want, and we just split the profits with you. I said, if he'll do the work, I'd be glad to do that. So, I mean, so he sold all the Beatles stuff for like over $2,000. You know, you're talking like a often used beach towel that was faded, Beatles beach towel from 1964, sold for $90. You know, it's like, I didn't see that coming, because I would have easily, if somebody had walked in and said, oh, I'd take that, I would have just given it to him, you know, but and then she had Barbie dolls from 1960, you know, so, and somebody bought that collection for $600, you know, it's like, you know, we tried to give it to my granddaughter because she has Barbie, but she, you know, old clothes. They want that, and plus she had accessories. She picked up, you know, a dial phone, you know, with all that stuff. My granddaughter picked it up and she says, what's this? So anyway, but it's just, I could hardly think of anything that somebody didn't have a response. But I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. I talk about things, you know, like what I'm going to do with the clothes, what I'm going to do with people. You know, I just work things out, and whoever I'm with seems to have the answer. So it's been fascinating, and those are just a few minor things, but I would say my whole life is kind of like that. I want to read a few of my book, Nudges and Reminders. It's basically for people that are doing Ho'oponopono and just trying to kind of keep you on the path. So I'm going to just read a couple of them. This one is Ho'oponopono as a problem-solving technique. So I remember Dr. Hugh Len saying, Ho'oponopono was a problem-solving technique. It's not a religion. I said, that really stuck with me. Returning to zero and responding from pure love is compatible with most beliefs. However, Ho'oponopono, as presented by Morna Simeona, makes no assertion beyond divinity, a term most people can relate to without compromising their own beliefs. Responding to life from a position of love is universally taught by many faiths. Isn't it wonderful to have a technique that so easily facilitates that? I sure believe so. There's another one of my notes. It's quite possible things will turn out far better than you could imagine. Just quit waving at me. When I first started Ho'oponopono, I didn't notice much change. But as I continue and began to pay more attention, I realized that some of the changes in my life were rather subtle. Some were not, but the subtle ones seemed to drift by unnoticed. And you know what? Those subtle changes accumulated into a better me without me even realizing what was going on. Imagine my surprise when I woke to this new and improved version of Bill. I can honestly say I didn't see that coming. The new me is thankful and more attentive to the blessings. Ho'oponopono forever. We are all one. One of the things that I've learned as I read about Ho'oponopono, a lot of people write about it. There was a study years ago about the electromagnetic field of the heart. And they could measure that the electromagnetic field of your heart goes out about 12 feet around you. Now, when you think of that, so as you walk in someplace, it kind of bumps into other people's electromagnetic fields. So like when you walk into a place and go, this feels pretty good. I'm comfortable here. Or if you walk into a place and say, I want to go home. You know, it's there's that connection. So it's not hard to buy into because you all had those feelings. No, we are all one. Ho'oponopono operates on the premise that we are all one, interconnected through creation. This is a very common belief throughout the world. Dr. Hugh Len said that the interconnectedness, got that word out, is the basis for the Ho'opono practice of cleaning your memories, replaying. Improve your relationships with the world through divine inspiration. As more and more people take on this personal responsibility, we start to see the collateral benefits in our little part of the world. It's like a piece of a puzzle, one piece at a time toward wholeness. So we've got to make ourselves better. A wonderful unfolding. I heard this phrase while listening to Abraham Hicks CDs. This is why you need to pay attention. There's a wonderful unfolding in your life as you practice Ho'oponopono and come into vibrational alignment with divinity. You really don't want to miss this. And if you have no idea how divinity will present this wonderful unfolding to you, it's kind of exciting. So go forth with grateful expectations. It will be delightful. In that class that I took, the first class I took, Dr. Hulan says, ask me how divinity does this. How does divinity work and do all this? So somebody said, how does divinity do this? He goes, I have no idea. He says, that's not my job. I don't tell divinity what to do. You know, what it does is transfer my thoughts to pure love and still lets me decide what to do. It doesn't, you see, when you're doing Ho'oponopono, it's problem-solving technique, but they're counting on you doing the right thing from a feeling of love. By doing Ho'oponopono, it doesn't come in and say, okay, Carrie, here's exactly what you got to do. It just doesn't, it doesn't do that. It says, you're from a position of love now. Just handle it. And what was that? What was that show where the guy said, handle it. Anyhow, so the idea behind all this is you're working on your feelings. You're not working on anybody else. You're working on you. This is a technique just for you. And that's what you got to remember. And it's the very hardest thing to do. As long as I had been doing this, when my wife was in the hospital, I went right to, okay, I'm cleaning to get her better. Well, that's not my job. My job is to take care of my thoughts and my life, and divinity will do what divinity does. And it was tough at the beginning, but it's a little over 2 years now, and I'm doing quite well. And the fact that I talk about this without breaking up, I mean, I can feel a little bit of cracking in my voice, but not much. I'm getting better at it, you know. And plus, after I went to at the first of this month, I was at the healing service or the message service you guys had, and I got a message from my mom. And my wife and my dad and my mom died all within a year. Yeah. So I got a message from my mom, but since I already got one message, they said, "Oh, have you got a message yet?" And yeah, I have. Well, I think that one was going to be from Deb, but since I already got a message, I didn't get that. But a couple of days later, Deb visited me. And honestly, I never felt so much love in my life. I mean, to the point that when I opened my eyes in bed, I thought I was going to see her. So,
look at that. Yeah, that's right.
Pretty amazing.
That's a
See,
lot.
even got his attention. I'm just glad it wasn't the other end. You wouldn't know who was talking. Anyway, so I know she's okay, and I know that there's a lot of love, and I think she's happy with the way I'm handling things right now. So it's fascinating to me, and I'll have to tell you, I'm breathing on. Coming from the love, I still have my moments, but I catch myself, and I catch myself faster, but because I still have things that, but there's some of those people who I don't get around anymore too. So anyway, well, I'm going to leave you with this. If divinity can make a bug's butt light up, think what it can do for you. Thank you.
Well, wait, we may have some questions. Bill, we may have questions.
Oh, I'm good for questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Anybody? All right. Oh,
I'm
gonna go right here.
They're on Amazon.
Okay.
If you go to their Ho'oponopono, if you put Bill Fiest in on Amazon, they should come up. Fiest. I know it should be Fiest, but Fiest.
Yeah.
So Fiest sounds like shite.
On Amazon.
They come individually. The Halo Repair is not available online. That was a book I wrote back in 2006. If I should have brought copies, I could. I still got a box I'm trying to get rid of. So maybe next time I come out here, I'll just bring a bunch of books. Okay, what is that? The week before I go on vacation.
that's good. He'll be with the Spirit Fair.
So,
Okay, Anthony?
So I took that same course several years ago.
Yes.
With Tulane, and there was one thing that really stuck out with me. It shows the design about going back to zero.
You're right.
It's very powerful. And they also created an automated process for Ho'oponopono, which I'm sorry, I love you. You can thank.
Yeah.
That's the way it came through. But Dr. Hugh Lin, when he was in Hawaii, said, "You see that chair right there? He said that chair stores a lot of energy. You see this land? This land stores a lot of energy. So you're forgiving yourself for what happened on the land. You're forgiving yourself by love. You're alchemizing it, and that's also a Hermetic teaching. What's taught, or Hermes Trismegistus did. It's very similar to how we alchemize divine love. We see something, we experience it, and we alchemize it into divine
And we
love.
leave it wherever we go.
Exactly. And so you plant that seed.
When I have the class, one of the things he did, like when we had over the 300 people that I went to, he cleaned on every person individually before he came to the talk. Yeah. So I have 8 or 9 people in my house for a class. I guess I could clean on each one of those. That's pretty easy.
The other thing I want to say
And I
is,
clean on the chairs they were going to sit on too.
yes, your wife is definitely with you, and if you do begin that, she's with you in that journey, as you can feel that horse's presence of energy. But also,
If it was the other end, it would have been my sister.
but it is.
Sorry.
It is encouraged though, that if you do take that on, you would be very successful in relaying the message that you have that will also help healing on the other side as well.
Well, it's been fun because I had a woman from a Ho'oponopono teacher from Delhi, India, get a hold of me and interviewed me for 45 minutes for her YouTube channel about Ho'oponopono. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know where anything's gonna come from.
Well, thank you for overcoming your fears and being present.
Yeah, I joined the Army the day I had to give a speech in college because I couldn't get in front of people and talk.
Oh,
I got over it.
You're
oh,
natural.
good. We have one more.
Whole.
Ho-oh, Liz. It's there's a whole bunch of O's. All the O's are pronounced and they're all long. So it's ho-oh, ho-no, ho-no.
It's nice to meditate on that too. That's what I was just meditating on before he spoke.
Like when they teach a breathing method called the ha method, and it's like this, they teach you to count to 7 or to 9 or whatever. Like, well, I don't do that. Instead of counting, I go, I love you, I'm sorry. Or at whatever cadence I can breathe without suffocating. So I let it out for the same amount, but once you say ho'oponopono enough, you'll mess it up like I didn't put too many ponos in there.
I'm gonna read one request, if you all want to do a silent clap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I like this.
a thumbs up's all you need.
That's for the hearing impaired.
Or, all right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was wonderful.